Hi, it's Ben Wolfson. I'm going to be giving a little talk on a tutorial on the approach to homeopathic remedy sources. So the context is that sources are the starting point of homeopathic pharmacy. Every remedy started from a source. Later on, from that source in nature, the remedy has been extracted and then potentized to ultimately become a homeopathic remedy. That's extracted, first of all, to make a mother tincture. So we have the question is, how are remedy sources, how are they chosen, how were they chosen in the past? Is it just a random process? Well, actually, if we look at the original 100 Hahnemannian remedies, he chose them mainly from Western European herbalism. That was, if we think about it, the culture in which he found himself, the location he found himself. So 180 years ago, there were about 100 remedies, and in 2019, this has grown to 8,200 remedies. Very few of these from Africa or sub-Saharan Africa. We know about 3,000 plants at least used as herbal remedies, 350 commonly used and described in the medicinal books of South Africa, 132 herbal remedies. Bringing these herbal remedies into the homeopathic materia medica is important, and DUT homeopaths have been doing this for quite a few years, and you can have a look through the provings that have been done, probably from the mid-1990s onwards. So the idea is, how about increasing the representation of African-sourced homeopathic remedies in our materia medica? What source should we choose? Or how should we choose a source? So one way is based upon the cultural traditional knowledge. So that's very much looking at what is used and understanding how they're used, for what sort of cultural and social situations and clinical situations these traditional remedies would have been used in. We could also, at the same time, look at the taxonomy-based method, say group family analysis. So we know Heliochrysum, known as Impepu, or a type of an African incense, is part of the Asteraceae botanical family. That includes Echinacea, Chamomilla, Calendula, Bellis perennis. Common factor in that family is trauma, insult, injury. Would that apply in some special way, differentiated for the Heliochrysum? We would need to see that proving, but it could improve our trauma and injury, insult group of remedies. According to pharmaceutical science, we can look at active ingredients in the source. So looking at a remedy which is more from tropical Africa, that would be the coconut. Coconut oil has lauric acid in it, which is known to have certain antimicrobial properties. Would that antimicrobial property carry forward in the potentized form? That could be a question to ask, well worth researching. Sometimes we get a hunch about some source, some sort of product, a feeling, an intuition. This could be good. I'm sure this would be good for that. It might be based on the law of similars, or just something that comes over us. Also, could well be a worthwhile method to look into remedies and then look for other aspects around its family or group analysis, around, are there active ingredients in it? Is there cultural, historical knowledge of it? And then there are conservation issues, is that a certain medicines drawn from African traditional medicine are being overused. A case in point would be African ginger, Siphonochilus ethiopicus. So that plant could be protected if we to make up and popularize a homeopathic remedy from it. In other words, we just need a small bit of the root of it from the African ginger, and that might be enough, or that we know that is enough to supply really thousands and thousands of doses. So having selected a source, the next step is how to process it, how to bring it from where we find it in nature in its kind of crude form into the world of a homeopathic remedy which can be used in our materia medica. So let's look at how we would go about doing that. So this would be the formal method of doing that. The first thing is to get a positive identification. The plant, and that would be from a botanist, for an animal from a zoologist, for a mineral remedy, that would be from a chemist. Secondly, we need to spell out our motivation for needing to research the source. Why is it important to add this remedy to our materia medica? So over here we would look at traditional use, possibly phytochemicals in a plant, and what we'd expect the benefit of adding this plant or this new source. This could be an animal source as well to our materia medica. The next thing is what part of the plant or the animal source we'll use to make up the remedy. Often this is guided by traditional knowledge or scientific knowledge, but we also have some basic conventions that, if possible, if it's a mammal, we would like to prove it or develop the remedy as a lac. In other words, we'd use the milk of the mammal, and from birds we'd use a feather, and so forth. Then we get on to the process of sampling. So firstly, where from? What location? So in general, we're looking for as natural and an uncontaminated place as possible. Something like a nature reserve, a game park, or a wilder area, as opposed to a city or a busy environment. Then the selection of the specimen sample. What criteria would we use? So for plants and let us say for animals, we'd want as fresh, undamaged, undiseased as possible. So the timing of the collection, and that's especially important in terms of plants because plants vary at different seasons. So the season varies according to whether we're collecting a flower, a root, a bark, or whatever. And those kind of points will be given in the lecture notes. Next, having collected the sample, it needs to be got back to the laboratory in as good condition as possible. So generally we look at how we would transport it securely, prevent deterioration from heat or oxidation or whatever during the transport, how we'd store it in the laboratory prior to doing the, let us say, the mother tincture extraction. And now we come to the extraction. The remedy extraction depends upon the pharmacopoeia method or monograph. So there are various types. The main types are the HAB, the German Homeopathic Pharmacopoeia, or the HBUS, the United States Pharmacopoeia. So now let's look at a particular example. So here is source information that would be given to you in a test or an exam. Something like this. It might be a bit longer, but I've just shortened it here for this tutorial. So here we're looking at this plant hypoxis. and you can see there's various headings like the distribution and habitat where it's found and the uses. The monograph on the plant could be a bit more detailed than this. I'm not going to go through all of this. You can have a look at it in the PowerPoint slides. But let's start to look at how we'll do the extraction for it. And so over here, what we've done is we start by saying what the remedy is going to be proved, a hypoxis in this case, and that the positive identification must be confirmed by a botanist. We talk about the motivation for research, and we talk about how the plant has a long history of use in African traditional medicine and these various diseases or conditions are treated. We also talk about its having immune boosting for HIV cancer patients via phytochemicals and it containing hypoxide. So that's the motivation, which would go to a funding committee, an ethics committee, or whatever, to really let them know why this work needs to be done. What is the benefit and the value of it? Next, we get into the sample process. So here we'll say that the rootstock or corm will be sampled to create the remedy, and the reason we do saying that is because that's a traditional use, and of course that part of it also has those phytochemicals we've spoken about. In terms of the geographic location, we would use an open grassland in a nature reserve somewhere nearby, and we're choosing that part, the rootstock, because that has been commonly used in traditional medicine, and it's also got the active ingredients in it. In terms of the timing of the sample, we would do it in the season when the plant matures and flowers. Now that information is not given in the monograph. One would have to research it further. But for a test condition, given what you know in general that where we're talking about a bulb, we want it when the plant is quite mature. In other words, the bulb is grown out and the flowers and the leaves and the top part start to decay. So that means that the bulb is at its most mature. It's grown to its biggest size. And we would always try and collect the sample in as good weather as possible, generally in the morning. In terms of the sample, we're going to be looking again at a plant in healthy and good condition. And the next issue is the sample management. Once the rootstock has been obtained, we need to wash it to remove soil, not use too much water because that could change the nature of the sample that we are collecting. Sample is then placed in a cool box, transported back to the laboratory, and there it should be stored in an airtight glass under refrigeration, so that when we come to do the mother tincture extraction, it is as fresh as possible, almost as if it had been collected that very same day. To extract the sample, that's to create the mother tincture, we could say over here that we'd use the homeopathic pharmacopoeia of the US, the HPUS, and there for all plants the drug strength is 1 in 10, and that's done on the basis of calculating the dry weight of the sample. Okay, I think this is just a quick introduction into how to approach a monograph or a set of information that you're given about some source that needs to be proved, created, researched, etc. Thank you very much.